All right, let's talk about the housing market in Halifax. And this is something that you want to talk about, just simply because inventory is down, is it?
Yeah, inventory is down basically at historic lows.
Wow.
So right now we have about a couple hundred listings available in Halifax. On this day, pre-pandemic, 2019, and even looking back to 2018, we normally have about 2,000 active listings.
Wow.
So, it's a bit of a situation.
Yeah, you don't say.
I think if you're a first-time home buyer, it's challenging to get into the market. I'm not so much concerned for you and me, Todd. Like, we could sell our existing places, buy another place, whatever. So I'm not so concerned about us, but I'm concerned about first-time home buyers. And obviously, we're seeing a lot of bidding wars. If you're moving here from another market, you're used to that, especially if it's in Ontario. There's some properties that are getting multiple offers, and homes are selling for $100,000, $200,000 over the listing price. I think that's a little bit of a symptom of maybe realtors pricing them a little bit too low.
Right.
The prices have gone up, so like maybe the listings maybe should start at a bit of a higher price point. So I think that's a little bit of the symptom, and maybe that's why it's getting so much activity, because they are priced too low. So I won't hold realtors 100% accountable for that. Obviously, the market is very, very hot. And obviously, we have more demand in the market than we have the supply. And this is going to continue going on. Some of you who are listening are going to sell your home. I don't know that if the Bank of Canada increase is going to maybe spur people to sell their homes, but if rates continue to increase, maybe more and more people will sell them. I think the consumers that were in financial hardship kind of pre-pandemic, some of those people who own homes have already sold.
Yeah.
And I think that, if you're still in a financial hardship type position today, selling your home is not a terrible idea. I'll be 100% honest with you. If you're a retiree who's potentially thinking about, moving into an apartment or into maybe a seniors living type situation, selling your home is basically opening the door to a first-time home buyer. And there's nothing, shameful of selling your home. You're basically getting the next generation into home ownership. In many households, the home is the biggest asset. And, you buy your home when you're a young person, and you're going to work for the next 25, 30 plus years, and you're going to pay down that mortgage. And every month that goes by, you're going to have the mortgage paid down, and hopefully the values continue to increase. Some people are asking us, well, maybe we'll just wait until the prices come back down. I don't think come down is in our future. I'll be honest with you.
Not that much. They might drop a little bit, but nothing like they.
I don't even think they're going to drop at all, Todd. I think we've right-sized our pricing.
Yeah.
I think our homes were probably undervalued before.
But ultimately, the market will determine the value.
The market will determine, and it's going to take a long time for us to increase the supply to the levels that it needs to be.
Yeah.
We are seeing that it could be 5, 10, 15, 20 years to get enough supply online to meet the levels of demand. People are moving here. The federal government has said that they're going to increase the amount of immigrants and refugees that they're going to take to Canada. And, a percentage of those people will move to Halifax.
Yeah.
It is a desirable place to live. People are moving to BC, and they're moving to Atlantic Canada. People want to live by the ocean. Nothing wrong with Ontario for our friends who are listening there, or nothing wrong with the prairies, but there's nothing like being able to access the ocean. I'm able to walk outside the door of my office tower, and I can see the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
In the Halifax Harbor,
Yeah.
but I'm able to see it every day.
Yeah.
And that is special. And the thing is that even though Halifax is a small city, we still have a lot of resources, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
We have new restaurants opening here like every couple weeks, it seems.
Yeah.
And things are really, I think, booming and starting to open up. We're going through our reopening plan, and things are going to be reopening on really March 21st. We're basically going to be living with COVID and getting back to more of a normal situation.
Yeah.
I think that's happening in Ontario as well. So I'm going to be curious to see kind of what happens. Is the people migrating to Halifax and Atlantic Canada going to increase when things start opening up in other markets? I'm not sure. The one thing I do know is if the average house price is still around $500,000, you can't buy a one-bedroom condo in Toronto for that.
Mm-hmm.
And, we have a good quality of life, and I think a lot of people are going to continue working at home or working remotely. And, I think Halifax in some ways is a bit of the promised land. I was on a call this week with the regulators in Nova Scotia and in New Brunswick. It was a group of us through Mortgage Professionals Canada. And one thing that we kind of talked about that kind of struck home with me, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, PEI, Newfoundland is kind of the last frontier of affordable housing. And it might not be in downtown Halifax, but there still is affordable housing in the province of Nova Scotia. You may just have to buy outside of the core. But I think that's what's kind of cool about Nova Scotia.
Right.
If you can't afford the $500,000 house, maybe you can buy the $400,000 home or the $300,000 home or maybe the $200,000 home. There are still homes available in these price points.
Yeah.
And we have a diverse coastline. We have a diverse topography in Nova Scotia. And, I think it is a special place. I was born here, so maybe I'm a little bit biased. But I think it's a good place to do business as well.
New construction, that's you talk about housing inventory and being a key part of dealing with that. What can you tell us about new construction?
There's some challenges. Yeah. As you know, there was an article that came out this week that there was a builder in Halifax that had 4 new construction homes that are nowhere near ready to be delivered to the people that they made the offers from. And we're going back now 2 years. Mm-hmm. These homes, in the article, it reported that the homes are now worth approximately $300,000 more than they were 2 years ago. Yeah. We're seeing this a lot with builders and doing new construction. Obviously, the cost of materials is up, the supply is down, and things are taking longer. We're seeing some new construction get renegotiated kind of before closing. Some builders are coming and asking for price increases to cover some of their losses. In some cases, builders will go bankrupt and they're going to lose their shirt because if they made agreements, before, materials went up, before other costs went up, in some cases, they're delivering homes at a loss, which is problematic. And I understand there's contracts. We feel for both sides. Obviously, I'm most concerned about my client. I'll be honest with you. Yeah. But I feel their pain. Buying a resale home, although very competitive right now, in some ways is a lot safer. You're knowing what you're getting. You can get it. It's delivered on time. And, there's more certainty. And sometimes people think, buying a new construction home is safer because it's brand new. But there certainly can be problems with new construction as well. Yeah. So I think a little bit of buyer beware and, ask the right questions.
All right, so we covered a lot of territory as we always do. And if people have more questions about any of this stuff or they want to know more about you and what you do, how do they get a hold of you? What are the best ways? I think the first step is to check us out online at teamclinton.ca/radio. Lots of information on there. We have over 500 blog posts, variety of different topics, and lots of contact information. You can surf to our social media pages right from our website. So teamclinton.ca/radio. Lots of great info. Thanks for tuning in. And if people are living in Ottawa and they want to move to Halifax, get a hold of you. Oh, 100% get a hold of us. We love helping people that want to do any mortgage lending, obviously here in the province of Nova Scotia. All right, it's Mortgage 101, your guide to home ownership with Clinton Wilkins and myself, Todd Veinotte, and we appreciate you taking the time to listen. We'll be back next month.